Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the SuperNova Astrology Update for November 4th through 11th, 2024. Well, we've been feeling an intense and interesting energy over the last few days with Mars in exact opposition to Pluto. Mars has been hanging out at 29 degrees of Cancer, the very last degree. Now we know that the very end of the sign, the very beginning of the sign has a bloom of the energy of the sign. So Mars is coming forward with massive compassion. For what? Breaking free from the chains of the past. So everything right now is, all of our attention is on Pluto at the end degrees of Capricorn, about to move into Aquarius and settle into Aquarius for the next 20 or so years. So that happens on November 20th. And it's very interesting because Mars is already in retrograde shadow in Cancer. Mars is going to transit into Leo tomorrow on November 5th. Very powerful shift of energy. Normally, Mars moving into Leo, bringing an energy of expression and passion and fire and excitement, enthusiasm, but Mars is preparing to take a retrograde. This retrograde will be a 4 to 5 month saga, 6 months as we extend into a Venus retrograde and a Mercury retrograde after the Mars retrograde. We also have a Mercury retrograde leading into the Mars retrograde. So 6 full months of all of our personal planets in retrograde. Now, this seems really intense, and especially when we've been held back for so long. Feels like all the way back to 2019, or has this been going on a lot longer? But the feeling, and it fits where we're at in our evolution, recognizing we've been held back. You know, our timeline has been derailed. We've been interfered with on a level that we could barely handle if we knew the truth of it. And yet we win. We're taking back our evolution, and we're at that point. We're at that moment. So that Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn is speaking to humanity breaking free from the chains of false authority. The false authority chains have, this is over this whole evolution, or from Atlantean time when the infiltration began, these forces have sought to hold back the human evolution. And so the mode of doing that is through stealing the technology and advancement. That means that the technology and advancement, which we have access to in our very own bodies, especially supernova souls, sets us free. Okay. And we've been talking about this on so many ways and so many levels for so long, but we know we're teetering at the edge, getting ready to claim 100%, fully and completely, our permission and our right to evolve as spiritual beings. Now, this is tricky because we are finding that this is part of the energy, a very sweet energy that's harmonizing this Mars opposite Pluto. And that is the fact that the sun is in trine with Saturn today. Exact trine with Saturn. So the sun in Scorpio, exact trine to Saturn in Pisces. So it's giving a totally different flavor to this Mars opposite Pluto. And Mars opposite Pluto, Mars is our warrior at the very end degrees of Cancer. He's bringing the mother energy. He's bringing the feminine. It's like the masculine is ready to fight for the feminine and understand that we can't go without her. She's been cut out of the story, cast aside. Nobody wants to hear what she has to say. The intuitive voice within. She must be, and not just brought back into the fold, right? Like, we can't just bring, okay, now I'm going to start to listen to my feminine. No, we got to put her on her throne, and return the crown to her. And what does that mean? That our intuitive being reigns supreme. I mean, isn't this what we need to do to separate ourselves from the agendas, the programming, the narratives? They're saying they're telling us a story of what's going on in world events and energies. And it's like, guess what? Still small voice within. That's where I'm getting my news now. And that's why we are the news now. It all comes back to the mother. We have to return the feminine to her place. before we can continue. And so that means we all have to come back to the mother in order. Now, this is interesting because the mother is about nurturing. And so it's kind of like the mother is wanting to nurture the connection. Reconnecting to the mother energy is nurturing us back into our full human potential. Because the thing is that we as advanced souls, supernova souls, we've already experienced spiritual ascension. We've already worked with higher technologies in a body on Earth in this evolution. So it's not that we're looking to claim back for us our evolution. Claim our right to move forward. We are, but we're claiming our right to be who we really are, to return to us what's been stolen. We've already attained it. If we knew this in our heart, we would not be so scared. You know, we've been teetering at the edge, this threshold. We have been programmed for thousands of years and lifetimes to fear spiritual ascension. But guess what? Spiritual ascension, the pineal gland, when it activates, it secretes DMT and oxytocin, the most beautiful chemical soup. And so spiritual ascension is psychedelic. And, you know, that's maybe why those energies are important for us to understand, you know, to like overcome the fear of our shadow within so that we can really take the ride, right? So we're not coming down from this one. And so we know that when you do take, like say, medicine, sacred medicine, you know, psychedelic for experiences and for ceremony, there's a facing of the darkness, there's a purge, there's a moving of energies, there's a preparation. All of this is, we could take that as a bigger picture of this ascension, that this ascension is like a big ceremony and kind of like, are you coming to the table? There's a place for you. And we got to find our way there. We each have to find our way there and say yes to this experience. And yet there's a very powerful message from the mother being like, we've already played in this sandbox. You fully are capable. You might not remember and you're programmed with fear, but you can do it. You've already done it and you're safe. And that's also the energy of the guardian of the threshold. And the guardian of the threshold is a part of ourselves that we've put into place, kind of like our guardian angel, but specifically around ascension, so that we do not have a Kundalini awakening without, until we're ready. So once we come back into a communication with our guardian of the threshold, we can help ourselves feel safe through this experience and this transition. So what happened is that we replaced our own guardianship with the false authority external control, right? Because they tricked us into thinking that our power was destructive and dangerous and not ours to have. Our literally higher intuitive power. This is literally free energy. We're talking actual power, you know? And so this is everything that we're dealing with, because with Pluto at the end degrees Capricorn, it's like, this is the false authority structures that have absconded with our light and power, tricked us and stolen it, and we have to go win it and claim it back, you know? Except for that, the message is really important. There's nothing to be scared of because you've already done it. And you don't have to claim it back because it was already yours in the first place. Isn't that beautiful? We don't have anything to fear. And it's already ours. Mom says it's on the way back to us right now, to the level that we can receive. Now we know that in receiving, we're talking about getting into vibrational resonance. And that seems to be the story, basically. I guess you could put it into a nutshell of this next 6 months of astrology, retrograde. And we're getting our ducks in a row. We're rearranging, we're detoxifying, we're dropping all the old stuff and patterns that we know we can't take with us. We've done so much work, but we've still got the clutter of all the shrapnel, right? It's like all this work, but there's still like chaos, mess, like there's still cleanup to do. And it's almost like maybe that's what's going on in the world too. It's just like there's been a spiritual war and it's affected every level of our whole society. And it's brought a demolition effect to a lot of the structures of our society. We're going to find out. And so the demolition has happened. This is kind of the Mars opposite Pluto, the breakdown of everything that we thought that we knew about ourselves. And then we need to get out. So it's a lot of that, like if you're going to do healing and cleansing in the body, you could have a miracle healing, but then you also have to make sure that your body can handle getting rid of the wastes at that rate, right? So you don't have too much of a detox effect. And so this is exactly what's going on. Why this time is so weird, because we're each being given the time and opportunity to choose our detox, because the message is like all the things that have been done to us with toxification, with fluoride, with just dumbing us down with heavy metals and chemtrails and nanotech and all this stuff. It's to interfere with our pineal gland, pituitary gland, these higher technological faculties. So if you, basically the message is like those control mechanisms are no longer, they're still there, but you can, as you're ready, you can detox them. They're blocking, right? And so gradually, as we detox the chemicals and the flora, all these things that are affecting us and in trying to interfere with our higher intuitive faculties, then those are going to be opening up. So we can do it at our own pace. It's actually a beautiful thing. You can detox to the point where you feel comfortable with your freedom, because it's coming. So this next 6 months is about negotiating freedom for ourselves, with ourselves, nurturing ourselves. This Mars at the end of Cancer is so important because Mars is already in retrograde shadow. Mars is heading into Leo tomorrow. We'll only make it to 6 degrees Leo. 6 degrees is a number of humanity. And it's kind of like we know that 369 is the secrets of the universe. It's exactly what we're talking about, being able to create ourselves out of the trap of this lower reality. The satanic forces of control have attempted to keep humanity at 6. That's why they use 6. Right? Because 9 is breaking free. It's like turning on the energy, getting your crown chakra, getting all your energy hooked up so that you can have that higher intuitive awareness that's rightfully ours. We've already attained it, and it was stolen from us. But so it's very interesting, this energy with 6, because Mars going into Leo, and Mars is the warrior, right? So it's putting action and oomph and power behind, in Leo, the light that we are. The expression of the light that we are. And then retrograde at 6 degrees. Humanity, do you have permission to shine your light? Do you have permission to be the free energy that you are, to turn your light bulb on, power your electricity? Like, this is how powerful we are. Do you? Are you that? Because the sun is our identity, the ruler of Leo, right? And so now then Mars turns retrograde, and that happens on the 7th of December. And then Mars is going to turn direct in February, come out of retrograde shadow the beginning of May. And in that time, Mars will be making 3 oppositions with Pluto, right? So we're just having the very first one. We are in Mars retrograde. This is the first opposition of Mars and Pluto. The second one will occur on the 1st through 3rd of 2025. So welcome to 2025. Very powerful, because that one happens at 1 degree Aquarius. This opposition of Mars and Pluto happens at 29 degrees Cancer, Capricorn. Okay, so this Mars retrograde is Mars, our warrior, going, hey, Pluto, come on. It is time for the Aquarian Age. We're going to move now. We're going to shift now. We're going to go the end of this old, worn out structures that are trapping us and holding us down, but they're falling apart, and it's just a big mess. And we're going to Mars is like, all right, come on, let's go. And also in Cancer, because Mars is going to go back to 17 degrees Cancer. So if you have the end degrees decan or the second half of cardinal signs and the first few degrees of fixed signs, you will be very affected by this retrograde. And indeed, all of us supernova souls, this is an initiation. And Mars retrograde often is that, but the placement, the energy, the numbers. And so it's kind of like we're starting this journey, and Mars opposite Pluto 3 times, but once in Capricorn, Cancer, Capricorn, and then in Leo, Aquarius. And the third one will be in April. And that we'll feel that in through the first week of May. And that's going to be when this energy finally begins to resolve. Because the interesting thing about this Mars retrograde, I know it kind of is a ways away and it's going to be going on for months, but it's really important that we set the stage for this right now and what all this astrology is about. Because we have a Mercury retrograde. Mercury is just going into retrograde shadow this week on the 7th of November, and Mercury will turn retrograde on the 26th of November. So Thanksgiving energy in the US, we've got this Mercury moving into retrograde shadow this week on the 7th. And this is the interesting thing too. There's so much around this, it's hard to keep it all straight in my mind here, but we'll get to all the points as we usually do, around and about. But 6 degrees Sag is where Mercury is going to retrograde back to. So Mercury is going to go from, so these are the mutable signs. If you have mutable signs in your chart, this is the activation for you. 22 degrees, 6 to 22 degrees, because Mercury goes to 22 degrees Sag, back to 6 degrees Sag, and then to 22. So Sagittarius and all the mutable signs just getting massively activated. And so that Mercury retrograde starts the stage for the Mars retrograde. Mercury comes out of retrograde shadow on the 16th of December, and on Mars will already be retrograde on the 7th of December. Okay, so they overlap, and that's why it's going to be so weird and so glitchy, so slow, so weird. But it's like, are we at the center of the spiral where we're kind of slowing down and we're going back the other way? You know, and we're unwinding out of some weird patterns. That's what the astrology is saying. And so if we can keep that in mind, because there's also a Venus retrograde. I haven't talked about this yet, but Venus is going to turn retrograde in March. So we've got Mercury retrograde, this, you know, basically over the November, December. Mars retrograde is December, January, February. Then we have another Mercury retrograde in March, April. And that's right along with a Venus retrograde in March and April as well. So all that doesn't really resolve until mid-May. And so if you can look at this, now that's also like we just had the eclipses, and so eclipses are 6 months. So it's like till the next eclipses, that's going to be kind of a timeline there. And it's so powerful though, because let's look at the culmination of April, just before all this retrograde energy finally ends, right? It's like we're going within. And the retrograde energy, right in April, at the very beginning of April, actually the whole month of April is super activated with this, but the first week of April, Venus comes to the North Node, and then Mercury comes to the North Node, and Venus and Mercury come together, and then they trine up with Mars, and Mars trine the North Node. So the North Node is moving into Pisces, and that happens on January 12th. So that's a huge shift of energy. So not only are we that's like right in the middle of this whole retrograde shebang, right? We got 6 months of retrograde shebang, and then right in the middle of it, we've got January 12th. The nodes move from the North Node Aries to North Node Pisces, South Node Libra to South Node Virgo. Now this is really, really important chapter. When the nodes shift signs, it's like, so it's really interesting that we've got this whole okay, we're unwinding and completely going in a completely new direction, Pluto in Aquarius, and then to have the nodes shift signs. So the nodes move backwards through the signs, and so they'll be at the end degrees of Pisces when these come together. Okay, now the greater conjunction that happened at the time of the birth of Jesus, they call it the greatest conjunction when it's between the fishes and the ram. These conjunctions of Saturn and Jupiter. So Saturn and Jupiter came together in the fishes and the ram at the time of Yeshua's birth. And that was the Christmas star energy. And so it's really powerful that these retrogrades, Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, both happening on this cusp of Pisces and Aries. Okay, then they conjunct and they come together with the North Node opposite the South Node in trine to Mars. So if that doesn't sound like the brand new start of our brand new timeline, according to a perfect balance of masculine and feminine, and Mars will be in Cancer, again, still resolving, right? His retrograde. So that's the end of Mars in Cancer. Mars will have spent a whole bunch of time in Cancer through this whole season, and so it's like our warrior for the mother, our warrior for the mother. And at the very end, it's a beautiful trine with the North Node and with Venus and Mars. And then a sextile with the South Node, Mars sextile the South Node in Virgo. So that's such a shift. And that's okay. So the other evidence for the fact that this next 6 months is a complete turnaround shift is the fact that Saturn is going to be turning direct in Pisces. And so Saturn is at 12 degrees right now. It will turn direct on November 16th. And that starts the beginning of the new chapter. Like we're unwinding from there. Okay. And then the next step on the unwinding is Pluto moving into Aquarius on the 20th of November. And then it's almost like gung, right? It's like a clicking into gear. Once Saturn, I'll just check on when Saturn comes out of retrograde shadow. And then Pluto kind of really gets into Aquarius. That's going to be like February, March. And then we're still in our inward journey of our retrograde law, but at the same time, we know that we're doing the inner work to have a brand new life, right? Move forward in a completely new way, like drop all of it, all the old constructs, all the old crap, all the old stories, all the old ways of doing things. This is what we're doing and why we have to go through this initiation. And remember, the initiation is all centered around the Mars retrograde that goes from Cancer, our warrior nurturing us, into shining our light in Leo. And it's very interesting coming back to the 6 degrees thing, because Mercury will, like I said, retrograde back to 6 degrees. So Mars begins his retrograde at 6 degrees Leo, Mercury retrograding back to 6 degrees Sag. That's a fire trine. So Mercury and Mars will be making a trine, and that will be, actually, they're in trine right now today on the 2nd, or they were on the 2nd of November. And then they'll be making another trine in February. And so that will be in the water signs, and then they'll have a final trine. So we are in this incredible journey. And if all of this is happening around the North Node in Pisces, and that those conjunctions happen at 26 and 25 degrees. No. Yeah. And so this is when the North Node is in the South Node in Virgo will be kind of getting into that story, we'll be anchoring in. And so the North Node is how are we going to get to where we're going? And in Pisces, it's confirming everything we've been talking about, that this is the activation of the Christ consciousness timeline. Now, in order to do that, we have to deal with our issues of Virgo. And for supernova souls, the issues with Virgo have to do with where we are haven't come into our healing ability, where we haven't come to terms, we've hidden it, we've disconnected from it, we've been persecuted as healers, we have been felt shameful about our connection to the earth. We want to clean up the earth, but we feel that we failed her with it. There's just so much around Virgo energy and what needs to be resolved for supernova souls. And so it's like we've got to clean up the healer, and that's the redemption that's coming. I see there is a redemption for the persecutions that happened in the Piscean age. Now we know there's so many cultures, there's so many peoples and different types of peoples that have been so persecuted and genocide and horrible things that have happened. And yet the persecutions have been going on, ever since Atlantean time, really, but they've really ramped up in the Piscean age for the last 2,000 years after Yeshua, that Christ consciousness impulse came. And it was like stolen from us, the miracles and the magic, and replaced with the persecutions and calling the true light evil and the evil the light, right? Because we're going to find out our religious leaders are crooks and doing horrible things, and pretending to be godlike. It's a complete opposite of what's true. And that was the Piscean age. And we've got to resolve this. There has to be a redemption. There has to be a healing of the persecutions, because that persecution energy, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the Native Americans and all the different cultures that have gone through. We've all played these roles, right? We've all been a part of a culture that has gone through this persecution, and as individual healers in the Piscean age. Because the persecutions of the Piscean age were the persecutions of the healers. And we talked about this. We've got to clean up the Piscean age. That's Neptune in Pisces coming to the end of Pisces, but a reworking of the Piscean age. And that it's not just about healing the persecutions, but the returning and the reawakening and the claiming back of the miracles and the magic. And what were the miracles? What brought the people to Yeshua? It was miracle healing. That's us. This is the South Node Virgo. So it's like most supernova souls, your greatest skills and gifts, you don't even know you have them because you've been programmed with fear, you're resistant. This is just part of it. And so we have to awaken our healer, our miracle healer, and claim back the mysteries and miracles of the Piscean age. And that is how we balance the scales on the persecutions. But it's like we have to have a redemption. We can't just go forward and not make it right what's been wronged. All the wrongs. How do we do that? We know Mom brings us back home in the heart, and it rights all the wrongs. And again, everything in the astrology is saying the only way home is back to her, and that's Mars retrograding through the end degrees of Cancer. And so that is the story here. So what's happening right now is that I just wanted to talk about that whole retrograde saga because we're going to begin to feel it this week when Mercury goes into retrograde shadow. And we'll have Mars in retrograde shadow, Mercury in retrograde shadow, and it's going to be like go. At the same time, though, is that the perfect backdrop to switch the tracks onto the new timeline, Christ consciousness timeline that's being unfolded with Saturn turning direct and Pluto moving into Aquarius, right? It's kind of like, all right, can go a little forward, but to handle that level of moving forward, we got to really go back and rearrange and readjust. So the deal with the Mercury retrograde that we're heading into and why this is so important. So Mercury goes into retrograde shadow on the 7th. In just a couple of days, and it doesn't turn retrograde till the 26th of November. And that's at 22 degrees Sag. So Sagittarius, Venus is set in Sag right now, and that's what we're getting a very clear message on, because Venus is actually opposite of Jupiter today, exactly opposite Jupiter, Venus in Sag, opposite Jupiter in Gemini. And this is kind of the like this hint and clue of the whole season we're moving into, that Venus and Sag is like the dream of the mother, the original dream and vision of what the earth wanted to become. And we're her stewards and we're there. So Mars at the end of Cancer, Venus and Sag, and Venus opposing Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is our future. It's what we need to do. It's what we're expanding into, what we want to bring more of, what we need to bring more of. And in Gemini, it's about expression. And so much has been suppressed. This is all of our sickness and illness. Our whole society is just suppression. And our voice has been so suppressed, and the feminine voice has been suppressed. So Venus opposite Jupiter and Gemini is saying this is what needs to do to correct the timeline. In this big rearranging we're doing and unwinding, the feminine voice must be heard. Not just the voice, the dream. The mother's dream. We were there from the beginning. We have it in our heart and our soul and our DNA, the Gaia codes, and we're here to demonstrate and show the people this original dream. And But it's like, so everything, so saying like the reworking of the timeline and correction that we're in is the voice of the feminine being heard again throughout the land, right? Our intuitive voice, the compassion, the love, the mother, what's best and good and right for everyone involved. It's so refreshing and so beautiful. You know, we have to pick up our feminine, take her out of the gutter, and put her back in the garden. And build a garden around her to support her. You know? So this is a massive adjustment and very powerful, because it's like so when we're talking about the song of the mother, the great mother, this is the deep feminine mysteries that have been hidden from us, these intuitive gifts that actually allow us to turn our light on, to fly, to levitate. This is what we're talking about. This is the treasures. This is Uranus and Taurus. Like, we're the gold. So now Venus is going to be moving into a square with Neptune. Okay, so this is, we've kind of got this flavor of squares and oppositions, and moving into this. We've had this for the last few weeks. It's lessing up a little bit with this Mars-Pluto coming off, but the Mars-Pluto, we're going to feel that actually through almost the middle of November. So we're just in this energy of like, push, pull, but is that what gets the motor running in the new direction? The pulleys, you know, like the corrosion is getting worked out. That's what it feels like with these squares. And so Venus opposite Jupiter, and Venus just had a square with Saturn last week. So Venus was square with Saturn on the 28th of October. So this is kind of what started this whole thing. At the end of October, we moved into this chapter, because this Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, Mercury will be making 3 squares with Saturn and 3 oppositions with Jupiter. And this is highlighting the Saturn square Jupiter. We've already had one Saturn square Jupiter, and now we're going to have a second Saturn square Jupiter transit. And this is happening exact on the 24th and 25th of December. Okay, so this is like not the Christ consciousness timeline. I don't know what is, right? Like Jupiter square Saturn is so powerful, because Jupiter and Saturn set the stage of our generational changes, and they come together every 20 years. And so they square every 20 years, or they square every 10 years, because they square up, oppose, square. So here we are at a 10-year marker from or a 5-year marker, excuse me, from the Jupiter conjunction at the end of 2020, right? So Jupiter square Saturn is happening on December 24th and 25th, and that will be happening at 14 degrees between Jupiter and Gemini, Saturn and Pisces. Saturn will be direct, and Jupiter will be retrograde, I believe. So Jupiter is the expansion to the new. Saturn is the old laws and rules, right? It's like the old king, Jupiter is the new king, and they come together and they inform each other. Like, what do we want to take with us? Where are we going? And so Jupiter square Saturn is Jupiter in Gemini, expression, expanding into our expression, at odds and square, putting pressure on Saturn and Pisces. So again, we've got to rewrite the timeline, but we haven't yet found our voice. You know? And so the powerful thing is that, like I said, Mercury will be interacting with Jupiter and Saturn 3 times for this Mercury retrograde, and as they get closer and closer together. So the first square with Saturn, Mercury square Saturn, will be on the 12th of November. The second one will be December 12th and then December 28th. And so then Mercury opposite Jupiter will be November 18th, December 4th and 5th, and December 27th. So right at the beginning, the very middle of November, the beginning of December, the end of December, this is when we're going to have Mercury triggering. It's like Mercury's triggering the square between Jupiter and Saturn, bringing in another element, basically making a T-square, Mercury in Sag, opposite of Jupiter in Gemini, in T-square to Saturn in Pisces. And so this mutable T-square, mutable squares are about an adjusting and changing. And so the adjustment, this T-square is saying that we've got to hear that voice. And Mercury in Sag, we have to awaken the dream. And Venus and Sag right now opposing Jupiter, saying and making these. So Venus is triggering this square already, has just triggered the square. And it's like, this is the adjustment that needs to be made. The feminine voice needs to be heard. And then in the dream of the feminine needs to be awakened and alive. And so then when Mercury is in Sag, and it's this activation of the greater dream, which we know is her dream, her original vision of what she wants to become, Earth Ascension. And it's like, now we go. We're with her and we're not scared anymore. And we know we've already done it. We're just taking back what's ours. We're moving forward, and it's glorious and beautiful, psychedelic, ecstatic experience of living in union with our mother. It's all the love you've ever wanted. It's all the satisfaction you could possibly imagine. That's what it's like walking with her. And we have been living in poverty and scarcity, begging for crumbs. Here we are, the gold of this world, begging for crumbs. And it's enough. Now it's over. Because the minute we step into our power, we are claiming, also automatically claiming back ours, our energy, and all of our evolution on the technology. Everything that's been stolen from us must be returned. These are the mother's laws and rules. You know? It's interesting that we've been controlled financially through maritime law. And what we need to come back to is the law of the land, which sounds a lot like the law of our mother. And what's right and good and true and logical. It's like, maritime law? Are we on a ship? Have we been abducted? Like, can we go back to mom now? Because that was her first very strong message to me when I really got into this work. It was like, bring them home to me. Bring them home to me. I'm like, what does that mean? And where are we if we're not home? Because I thought I was on Earth. And so maybe this is Mars, our warrior, right? Like, we're here for Mother's original dream. It's ours. We're co-creators, and it exists right here, right now. And the only way to do it is to be in our abundance and to live abundantly. So we got to get our act together, because we're pretty used to scarcity and slavery, aren't we? Is that what this retrograde season is about? It's time to get out of slavery and scarcity and poverty consciousness, all the things that have kept us trapped. You know, how can we be in poverty consciousness? How can we be in poverty when our energetic wealth is so huge? Do you see where we stand? And we can't back down. We can't just go crawl in a cave this time and pretend that that's not happening out there. No, it must be returned. The tables must be flipped and turned, and the wealth must be returned. The wealth, spiritual wealth, exactly equates with physical wealth in the new paradigm. And we're abundant. There's no other truth for us. What happens when we start living in that abundant nature, walking in the garden with her? Like, everything I have and need is just right there. And if it isn't, mom's showing me something. And it's a way I can show up and expand more into my abundance and wealth. You know, I mean, just, we've got to be warriors. I mean, this is the Mars at the end of Cancer. It's like we're being activated back into our warriors for her. You know, all through this whole evolution, we fought for her. All of everything we stand for, supernova souls, and everything we worked for every lifetime was about protecting her teachings and her secrets, and, you know, continuing to worship the goddess with behind the veil of fitting in with other religions. And so we've got to come back to her. The whole world but we have to, because we're the earth stewards. We were there as a petal of her lotus, experiencing her original vision and dream. So it's activating within us. And that's what's activating our petal of the lotus, our individual expression that we bring forward for this dream. And that's why we're going deep, to dig deep. This Uranus retrograde, Uranus coming to the end degrees of Taurus, last retrograde in Taurus, we're digging deep for the treasures that we are. And we're not going to go without it. You must return the diamonds. So that's a powerful energy with Venus this week on the 9th and the 10th coming into square with Neptune. Venus in Sag, the feminine dream, in square with the lies, the delusions, and the misleadings and manipulations of the Piscean age. The inside, outside, opposite world, and Venus is like, oh, there's just one truth, and it's her. We don't need to argue deep each side. We all want the same thing in the end. And we must come back to what really matters, she says. How do we do that? We're each doing it individually. I know SuperNova Souls is like, you lost everything. You're like, what is she talking about, my abundant nature? Like, I'm special needs when it comes to taking care of myself in the 3D reality. That's all about to change, because this timeline rearranging and unwinding is everything, all the forces that have been working against you, now working with you. And the co-creative dream of her beautiful love. And it's like, we get to go. We don't have to wait for anybody or do anything anymore. They can join us when they're ready. We're going home to her now. In your heart and your soul, can you do it? This was the energy of the Scorpio new moon. Wow. The Scorpio new moon activation was so powerful, with a literal baptismal, a rebirthing, a complete rewriting, a gathering up of all the energy that's been stolen or lost from us over this whole evolution, and with Mother as a witness in her in Gaia's cave and this baptismal. I mean, if that resonates to you, wow. It was a whole different take on a lot of these concepts. So go get that replay of the Scorpio new moon activation, because it confirms everything we're saying about a soul renewal. And that means we're definitely on a whole new path. We've been fractured and beaten down and like in pieces and barely hanging in there. And it's like, what is it like when we're feeling whole, supported, and, moving forward on what we came here to do together? So it's very, very exciting, but we all have a lot of cleanup to do, right? The detox, we got to get the wastes out. The battle is coming to an end, but we got to clean up the battlefield. And this is our lives, and all that left over. We don't want any of that old stuff to have any place it could possibly root in our lives, right? So the South Node Virgo is like, clean it up. And that is the energy of, that starts out 2025. Starts out Mars opposite Pluto, 1 degree Aquarius. Calling forward the warriors for her world, the visionaries, the reluctant leaders. That's you, SuperNova Soul. So you can see now that this Mars retrograde is a very powerful initiation and time for us to readjust. And then we're going to have that Venus retrograde in April, March and April. But with the Venus and Mars retrograde in March and April, going over the end degrees of Pisces and the beginning degrees of Aries, bringing us restart, a new understanding of the feminine, and moving us. The Christ consciousness is a soul of earth. It's the feminine. Everything we're talking about, the mother, is Christ consciousness. That's exact confirmation of this Venus and Mercury retrograde together in March and April. And lining up with the North Node, newly in Pisces, just a couple months in Pisces. Here we go. Are you going to claim it? Because that activation said we could do it right now in every moment. Be in a baptismal, walk in her love, walk in the garden, be in the abundance, just like, and it's like we've been in a battle in our consciousness. And as we clean and detox and claim our consciousness, we're cleaning up Earth. And it's been total battle. But now we've won on some level, right? And in our bodies, but there's shrapnel. There's like buildup of waste. There's like, we got to clean it out. We got to heal. We got to clean it out. We got to do repair, because it's been quite a battle and we barely made it, but we're claiming back our organic chemistry every single day, more and more. And a lot of this is breathing into our organs. Now, so I hope that this is the most important thing for supernova souls at this time has been come forward as learning to contain our energetic field, because we've been leaking it out and allowing energies to feed on us, not realizing the power we have. So if we're really going to glow into our light body, we have to learn to contain our energy. And that's exactly the energy of Pluto moving over into Aquarius. We have to have autonomy in our energy field and in our body, our consciousness. We can't be swayed by lower forces if we're going to move into the Aquarian age. We've got to be autonomous and sovereign, where no outside energies can affect us or sway us or influence us from our truth. Does that make sense? Does this make the last few years or lifetimes make sense? We got hijacked. We got so manipulated, but we had to overcome all those tests so that we're sovereign. And our energy is ours. So that's what this Owning Your Energetic Field course is about. And we're getting to each of these installments of the Owning Your Energetic Field course can stand alone. Like, I just want to go work with a heart chakra. There's always going to be a review of all the chakras in each installment, but you can do it as a series too, a very powerful series leading up to an activation of the one true chakra, or the light body, when all of our chakras are in communication with each other. And we have cleared all the issues on these levels of consciousness. So this Owning Your Energetic Field course is a concentrated version of the intuitive training, a 12-week series, 12-session series. So this week on Thursday, the 7th, we're having the third eye installment of this Owning Your Energetic Field. So working with the higher intuitive knowing, everything we've been talking about. We're going to then do the crown chakra, and then integration and activation of all the chakras for a final course. So get in on this. If there's any other courses you want to do, and you can, like I said, you can use it as a series or just do the courses. They stand alone. So consider this third eye course. We're going to go deep into the mysteries. And part of that was that we are coming to life, bringing to life something that has died within us. And there's some deep esoteric mysteries around breathing life into death. And this is really literally what we're doing in our body right now. And we are surviving as advanced souls with everything we're going through in this time and the attack that's been on us through cellular regeneration. You don't even realize you're doing the power you have. So can you, with your consciousness, invite this cellular regeneration and also breathing new life? They've been trying to cut off our oxygen. So as we breathe, and we really breathe in this breath of life, and we can make what's dead become back alive. Is that what Lazarus was really all about? We're doing this right now. So when you just take a lot of time, as much as you can, to consciously breathe, reset in nature, breathe in this breath of life, know that you can. This is what came through the activation too. Like, we can take anything we need out of the air and create it in our body, the moisture, the water, the hydration. And so you can breathe this breath of life and hydrate your body, oxygenate your body, and make re-alive those parts of us that have been on the way to dead because of the nanotechnology and the toxins. And so it's like we have to consciously choose this every day. And then is it true that we're going to be awakening to the technologies we have around like age regression? because this is really what starts happening here. We're breathing to survive, but we're regenerating. And so if we can regenerate ourselves out of a self-replicating AI mechanism that's creating all these clots, they're creating false neural pathways for us to become a computer. If we can regenerate out of that, we can do anything. We can constantly regenerate our bodies, and we're not going to age. Do you understand where we're going and what we're doing here? This is what they don't want us to know. Why we've been so stuck and trapped here, and why this is such a strange time, because it's like we're careening back into the timeline. The tracks are coming together across, like we have to merge, and there's a huge cleanup operation that needs to happen, and that's us. That's why we are getting so pressured, or this next period of time of the next year and a half, as with the North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo, we're cleaning up ourselves, our body, the earth, stepping into who we are as these earth stewards, and being the warriors for her and her dream and her vision and her co-creation, walking in it. We don't have to wait for any systems to come around or the coffers to be filled. We have the wealth. We do it right here, right now, with our breath, with our presence, with our love. Thank you for not giving up. I know you've gone through hell and back, and that's because you can handle what's coming now and be in a position to help other people. And this is the awakening of the healer in you. All the things that people rejected you for, you're gold. It's what we need the most. So it's so beautiful. Thank you so much for all you've done and for all you've gone through, and just continuing to bring the love and the compassion. And this is what we need for ourselves right now, to give ourselves the permission to make these changes in our lives. And it's incredibly powerful time. So I'm so glad we're here together, and thank you so much for your support. Consider becoming a member, if you're not, of the SuperNova Soul Tribe, where we're going to come together, network, really be an organization where we can support each other into our light. This is the beautiful thing about being around other supernova souls. Most people around you haven't really really been supportive of your full shining and your full potential. Probably a little intimidated, scared of you, lifetimes of being a handler of your light. You get around your supernova brothers and sisters, and it's like they want to see you shine, and you want to see them shine, and it's just exponential support, and so beautiful. So much healing that is needed for supernova souls with all we've gone through, and so many amazing and powerful healers that haven't been able to be received for what they have to offer. So this is what we got to do. And Mom wants us. She says, come on, dance and sing, get together at these very important times, at these very important locations, and dance and sing with me, pray with me, love with me, talk to the waters. Why the consciousness of the water that Dr. Emoto showed us, and understanding primary water and structured water, it is everything with taking back our world and our co-creation. So we can talk to the waters of our body and tell them we love them, and talk to the waters of the earth and tell her you love her. I love you so much. We've been in scarcity and lack, giving, but what if we just need to give a little bit more to her so that we can make the world right? So she awakens to our call, our consciousness and her consciousness waking up together, dancing together. She leads the way in this ascension, but we're her army. It's glorious what's coming, and so prepare yourself. And that's what this next period of time is about. And I'm glad we got to talk some of that through. So very powerful week with Venus in square to Neptune. We'll be feeling that through the 12th, as well as Mars opposite Pluto. So we're breaking free from the chains that have kept us from living in the world we know we want to see. And we're going to rewrite the story according to hearing the voice of the feminine again, because Venus is opposite Jupiter and then square with Neptune. So those will be active at the same time. It's the voice of the feminine that allows us to rewrite and rework that Piscean age. We got to hear her story, and we've got to come back to those mysteries within our own consciousness, listening and talking with this intuitive voice. So thank you so much, Supernova Souls. I hope you have a wonderful week. Just know that we're heading into this very big change of a kind of, on the one hand, Mars into Leo, but kind of boom, boom, boom into retrograde mode, because the journey is within our mind for deeper understanding, within our heart, with Mars. Finding the true, what really matters, and moving forward in just the right way, and just the full, beautiful, true expression. The thing is that she saw us as the petal of her lotus. She knows what we have to offer and what we bring to the table better than we do. And so can we trust her and live with this energy that the road is all over the place right now? You find yourself very unexpected directions, unexpected situations, and a lot of times it's chaotic or quick or fast dynamic, but it's because we are cleaning it up and learning, getting the pieces of the puzzle that we haven't gotten yet very, very quickly. Rapid transformation, realizations, downloads. This continues, and it's all about who we really are and the wealth that we actually have within us, and how Mom's going to take us home to the wealth within us and to the abundant golden age. And so know this and live this and breathe this abundance. Breathe that energy, that breath of life into your pineal gland, into the areas of restriction in our consciousness. Bring life back to what has been going towards death. And you can do this with everyone around you in every moment as you breathe this breath of life in the power that you have. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope to see you at the Owning Your Energetic Field course, Third Eye installment. And that will be Thursday, November 7th at 11. And Thursday, November 7th, coming up here. So I hope to see you then. The information of that and all the other installments I'll put in the show notes in the information box below. So you can go and find any other chakra work of those Owning Your Energetic Field course. This is so, so important. Jump on the journey for these last couple of courses. We're going to finish by the end of the year and get this full chakra experience, and invite the activation of that one true chakra, the light body. Turning our light on. It's what's happening. It's happening to us all on its own. But through the Owning Your Energetic Field course, you become a lot more comfortable and remember these techniques that we know and get more comfortable. Come into contact with that guardian of the threshold. So you can drop all of the constructs around fear and authority programming that's keeping you from living the truth you really are. And so thank you so much for being here. I love you so much. I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.